pull your hand out of the dishwater and look at your fingertips. Everyone can see what happened here. The water soaked in and puffed the skin up. Everyone is wrong. The water never got inside that skin at all. Something underneath your fingertip reached up and pulled those ridges into place on purpose, and it will not do it on a dead finger. Once you see what is really flipping that switch, you will never look at a wrinkled hand the same way again. Think back to how this got explained to you. Skin is like a sponge, they said, so leave it in water long enough and it drinks some up and swells, and a swollen surface has to crumple. It feels airtight. You can almost feel the water sitting in the pad of your finger, plumping it from inside. Pull your hand from the sink and the ridges look exactly like something soaked and bloated. Hold that picture steady for 1 second. Nearly every piece of it is false. Try the simplest test on your own body. Sit in a bath for an hour, then check yourself over. Your back stays smooth. Your belly, your thighs, your arms, nothing. Only the fingertips go pruny, plus the palms, the soles, the toes. That is the hairless skin, and only the hairless skin. A sponge does not get to pick which corner of itself swells. Something here is choosing. Something is being selective. So watch what is actually happening under that fingertip. The instant your hand stays wet, your sympathetic nervous system, the same wiring that fires in cold or in fear, clamps down on the tiny arteries feeding each fingertip pad. Blood drains out of the pad. The little cushion beneath the skin deflates, and the surface, suddenly too big for what is under it, buckles and folds into ridges. Nothing pushed in from outside. Your own flesh was pulled down from within. The wrinkles are your body flexing a muscle you never knew you were flexing. This is not a hunch. In 2003, a study pinned the mechanism down cold. Water wrinkling comes from vasoconstriction, from blood draining away, not from any swelling. A Binghamton team circled back around 2025 with modern imaging and confirmed it again. The ridges form because the vessels pull the skin. And here is the strange part. The sponge story had already been overturned back in the 1930s. It just never got evicted from the textbooks. Now the cleanest proof there is, and it needs no machine at all. Take a finger whose nerve was cut from an old injury or a surgery and lower the whole hand into warm water. Every other finger puckers. That one stays glassy, smooth, untouched, sitting in the same water for the same minutes. The water is identical. The only missing thing is a nerve signal. If soaking made the wrinkles, that finger would wrinkle too. It cannot. The water was never the cause. Your brain was. People noticed this a long time ago. In 1935, Lewis and Pickering studied patients with a damaged median nerve. Soak those hands and the skin wrinkled everywhere except one precise patch, the exact strip that the broken nerve was supposed to serve. That dry, smooth zone traced the nerve's territory like ink laid down on a map. The wrinkles were drawing the wiring diagram of the hand onto the skin itself. Doctors realized they could run the whole thing in reverse. O'Rain turned it into a real tool in 1973, the wrinkle test. Soak a hand in warm water for about 30 minutes, then read the nerve supply straight off where the skin does and does not pucker. Surgeons still lean on it. Reattach a severed nerve. Soak the hand weeks later, and if that finger starts to prune again, the nerve is alive and creeping back. A bathtub habit became a diagnosis. But the test is fussier than the clean number suggests. On average, it takes about 24.5 minutes to turn positive, and a full quarter of patients need the whole 40 minutes before their skin answers at all. So the tidy 30-minute cutoff quietly fails a chunk of people, calling a living nerve dead just because it was slow to reply. The switch is real. It is simply not instant. Here is where it turns eerie. German and Leighton in 2025 had people soak their fingers, photograph the exact Pruney pattern, then brought them back more than a day later to do it all again. The wrinkles returned the same. Same ridges, same branches, same valleys, in the same places both times. Your Pruney pattern is not random crinkling that reshuffles each bath. It is a fixed signature, redrawn identically every time the water finds you. It repeats for a plain reason. The blood vessels doing the pulling barely shift against one another. They are anchored, so every time your nerves deflate that pad, the skin caves along the same fixed lines of your own fingertip plumbing. The pattern is basically a map of your personal vasculature, steady enough that researchers half joke it could work like a fingerprint, a biometric U-print in water, and you are not the only creature that does it. Mark Chongizi's team documented a young Japanese macaque with the same wet, wrinkled fingertips, a monkey easing into a hot spring, its hands pruned exactly like yours after a bath. This is no human quirk, no flaw in our particular skin. Another primate, out on a far branch of the tree, flips the same switch in the same water. That points to a harder question than how. Watch the leap researchers make from there. If a trait shows up in more than one primate and runs on its own dedicated nerve machinery, it stops looking like an accident of getting wet and starts looking like something evolution chose and kept. One honest caveat belongs here. The built-on-purpose claim is still argued over, and hard data on other species stays thin. Even so, the weight of it leans toward design, not coincidence. The leading answers sound straight out of the Stone Age. In 2013, Carreckless and his team had people move marbles and weights around underwater. With Pruney fingers, they shifted the wet, submerged objects noticeably faster, about 12% quicker, while dry objects showed no gain at all. Now picture an ancestor crouched at a stream, hands soaked, snatching at a slippery fish, prying shellfish off a cold rock. Wet grip is the entire point of it. Look closer, and the wet wrinkles branch like river deltas, or like the tread carved into a tire. Changizi calls it rain tread. The channels do the exact job that tire grooves do. They give trapped water somewhere to escape from under the pad so the skin can press flat and grab instead of skating across. Your fingertips, soaked, quietly turn into rain tires, built for holding on when the world goes wet. Except science flatly refused to let that stay tidy. In 2014, Haselu reran the grip experiment with 40 people and found nothing. No dexterity boost, no touch edge, wet or dry. The neat rain tire story looked dead. Then, a far larger study, hundreds of participants, came back and found that wrinkled fingers really did cut the force needed to hold a wet object. The pendulum swung back. This is what live science actually looks like, one wet finger caught in the middle of an argument nobody has settled. Because those wrinkles need healthy nerves. Their absence or excess leaks medical secrets. Soak the palms of someone with cystic fibrosis and they over-wrinkle within about 3 minutes, add the little papules at 7 minutes, and that response flags the disease with roughly 94% sensitivity and 98% specificity, rivaling lab tests. Flip it the other way. Diabetics with nerve damage barely prune, and in early Parkinson's, one hand wrinkles less than the other before the tremor even shows. A bowl of warm water reads your nervous system. There is even a clock built into it. In a warm 40-degree bath, your fingers start pruning in roughly 3.5 minutes. In cool water, it can drag out to 10. And whatever the temperature, the effect tops out near 30 minutes and simply stops. The switch has a ceiling. That is why the tub prunes you fast. A cold pool takes forever, and soaking past half an hour changes nothing at all. So stand at your sink tonight and actually watch it happen. Your body senses your hands are wet, decides you might need to hold something slippery, and reaches up from the inside to carve rain treads into your own skin, no permission asked. It is the same reflex that once helped something at a stream, long before you existed, keep its grip on a thrashing fish. You did not learn this, you inherited it. And every time the water finds your hands, a tool older than your name switches on and quietly does its ancient job, on you.